Hello, everybody. Welcome to another FB Live. I'm Cassandra Von Worsley, practicing on my personal Facebook profile. So I'm going to do some practice here. I'm actually sitting behind my desk. So most of you, if you watch my FB Lives lately, I've been sitting behind my other desk, which is the desk that I actually work at. Now I am sitting behind the desk that I bought for the sole purpose of doing these FB Lives. It looks a lot better in the background. All right. I'm about to come back to FB Live full time in September. And one of my favorite topics, something that I love to talk about, that I will be talking about at length in September, are boundaries. So we might as well kick it off in August and talk about, are you doing too much for others? I think most people would say yes. Most people would say, if you really took a step back and you think about all the things that you want to achieve in your life and all the things that you want to do and why you're not doing them, but on the flip side, you say to yourself, how much time in my life, every single day, every single week, am I spending focusing on what other people want, what other people need, being people-pleasing, fulfilling obligations. Anytime you hear the word obligation, I'm just going to tell you, more than likely, if you are doing things for other people out of obligation, you are violating at least one of your boundaries. So in this FB Live, I want to talk about how do you know if you're doing too much for others, but I also want to talk about how do you shift away from doing too much for others and really focus on doing everything that you need to do for yourself. And that can be super challenging when you do have obligations and you do have other people that depend on you. But I'm going to say and you still need to keep yourself the priority if you're going to fully be able to give to other people. So let me give you a quote. I found this quote the other day. Of course, on Pinterest. You know, I'm a Pinterest addict. And I absolutely adore what this quote has to say. And the quote is from Minerve Jean, probably French, Minerve Jean. And the quote says, I want you to listen to this quote. This is a drop the mic quote from Pinterest by Minerve Jean. I have moved the universe for those who cannot even hold the earth for me. I'm going to say this a couple more times because I want you to let this sink in, and I want you to feel it so you can get real with where you're at with, are you doing too much for others? I have moved the universe for those who cannot even hold the earth for me. Just think about that for a second. I have moved the universe for those who cannot even hold the earth for me. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you are moving the universe for other people? Could be friends, family members, at work, your children, your grandchildren. Have you ever found yourself in a spot where you are moving the universe for people who cannot even hold the earth for you? Do you know how that feels to know that you are like everybody else's rock, but when you need somebody to have your back, nobody's there? Do you know what it feels like to be everything to everyone, to be the strong one, to do everything in your power to take care of everybody else, but meanwhile you're in a corner shriveling emotionally and nobody's there to help pick up the pieces? So how do you know that you're doing too much for other people? I'm going to give you some telltale signs. Number one, you are doing too much for others anytime there is resentment in the mix of you doing things for other people. If you find yourself doing things for other people but not feeling good about it, feeling like you have to rather than you get to, and then as a result fulfilling that obligation, but then feeling super resentful either as you're doing it or after you do it, that is a sign that you're doing too much for other people. Here's the thing. When you do stuff for other people out of obligation rather than because you get to, you feel like you have to, I know you think that you're doing them a favor. You're actually hurting them and hurting you at the same time because A, your resentment is killing you, literally. And B, you're not actually serving them well. You're serving them to the minimum level that's required by the obligation, but you don't actually want to be serving them. So you're not even fully present in the serving of that other person. So resentment is a telltale sign that you are doing too much for other people. other people constantly using you as the scapegoat for fixing their problems is a sign that you're doing too much for other people. Anytime somebody is so dependent on you that they cannot operate without you, that they just expect that you're going to do things for them. Anytime somebody is using you as their bailout, right? Meaning they don't proactively do what they need to do, but they know they can always come to you because you're the fixer. That tells me that you're doing too much for others. Anytime you are neglecting yourself and you're living in a state of deprivation, you're probably doing too much for other people. And I know it's tough when you go, yeah, but I have small kids and they've got baseball and football and summer camp and this recite. Listen, who schedules you? Who decides what activities your kids do or don't do? Who decides when you take your me time? You do. You do. So I want you to pay attention to the resentment feelings, the sense that you have to do something for somebody out of obligation, when you're always the one giving but you're never receiving. You're always the one who's offering and giving and reaching out, but you're never receiving. That's another sign that you're doing too much for other people. And when you're enabling other people, so you become their crutch and you are their fixer, so they A, never learn that they can take care of themselves, and B, you feel needed. Anytime you have a need to be needed, like that feeds you, question that. Question that. The need to be needed, which usually comes from early childhood stuff, is something that gives people power, but it's the wrong kind of power, because then you end up being resentful when everybody needs you, but then you're also getting a lot of, you're getting a payoff from needing to be needed. So yeah, are you doing too much for others? You'll feel it, like right in your solar plexus, wherever that is, you'll feel it. And at the very same time, sometimes we get a payoff by doing too much for others, by being able to tell the victim story where everybody uses us, everybody is asking for, pulling for us. If you are telling that story, I guarantee you've probably been telling that story for years. You need to stop telling that story. You need to start saying, I am the priority because I have to be. Because if I'm not the priority, then I can't fully serve the people that I love and I can't fully give to them. And me giving to them out of a sense of obligation, which creates a legacy of deprivation in me, is not a good thing for anybody. And nobody wants to be around somebody who's resentful. I know people think they can hide their resentment. No, you can't. No, you can't. People can feel the energy of obligation and resentment in you, whether they ever tell you that or not, or whether you ever say that or not. People feel it. So what am I going to say? Final point. What do you do if you figure out that you are doing too much for others? Stop it. I don't know that there's a nicer way to say stop it. I mean, literally, put up the boundaries, put up the emotional walls if you have to, but you've got to get to a place where you say, my life in being the fixer, in being the go-to person, in being the people, that is not working for me. So as of today, here are where my boundaries are. I come first. I'm going to have to cut out certain things that I've been doing because they don't fit into my schedule any longer. I'm going to communicate that to all the people who've been taking full advantage of me doing those things. And then if they don't like it, they can find somebody else. And if they aren't happy with me, then they can continue to be unhappy with me. But there just comes a point where you have to say, no more. No, can't do it. Won't do it. And yes, will there be some chaos in the mix? Will people get kind of pissed off because they can't depend on you any longer? Will people feel some kind of way because they feel like you've changed? You know how people say that, you've changed? Oh yeah, get used to it. But at the end of the day, anything you lose is not a loss. Anything you lose is not actually a loss. So I'm going to repeat this Minerve Jean quote one more time. I have moved the universe for those who cannot even hold the earth for me. Just think about that for a second. If you are moving the universe for those who cannot even hold the earth for you, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Take care of yourself first. That's my message. All right, everybody. I'll catch you whenever the next, like I said, I'm not coming back full steam with a schedule and everything till September, but I will be back. I'll catch you guys on another personal FB Live. Who knows when?